Welcome to One Life, the podcast where we embrace the journey of living fully and intentionally in every area of life. My name is Matt Farnham, and while I don't have it all figured out, I'm walking this journey with you, convinced we don't have to choose between a thriving career and thriving relationships, health, and purpose. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And together we'll explore how to create work-life harmony, reject the lies of comparison, steward our gifts, and embrace the life God desires for all of us. Welcome to One Life. Hello. Matt Farnham here. Welcome back to the One Life podcast. I want to thank you again for listening and being a part of our One Life community. I am super excited to have my good friend Adam with me today. We've titled this episode, Choosing Margin Over More, Building a Life by Design with my friend Adam Haley. And guys, I want to encourage you, really lean into this episode specifically because I believe that Adam's story is going to land very close to home for many of you that have been following this podcast. I know him and I just had a quick conversation over the phone a couple days ago, and his story is just so relevant and applicable to what this podcast is all about, to our community, to you listening right now. So definitely lean in. But to give him a bit more of a formal introduction, let me introduce you to my friend Adam. Adam Haley began his real estate career at the age of 23 when his father opened Haley Auctions Realty. After 3 years, Adam became the top agent in his county and has been the top 10 agents in his MLS for the last 8 years. In 2020, he also began a construction company with his now business partner to go along with his real estate business. In 2022, Adam took over as the broker of Haley Auctions Realty, which is a company of 14 agents that closed over 400 transactions in 22 and in 23. At the end of 2024, Adam gave up his position as broker of the company to pursue a career-long dream, which was being able to spend quality time with his family and his friends. He's got his wife, Shelby, his 2 kids, little boy, Tripp, his young little daughter, Palmer. And one more way of introduction. Adam might be the most humble guest I'll ever have on this show. He's a flippin' rock star, but yet he just said to me before we started recording, I hope I can bring value to your listeners. But bro, I know you're going to. So thank you for being with me, bro. Thank you.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me, Matt. I love the podcast. I love you, and I appreciate everything that we've talked about over the last 12 months. You've been a real encouragement.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm honored to have you on here. This is very meaningful to me. And you're in Russellville, Kentucky. Is that the actual name of the town?
Yeah. So I'm in Russellville. It is South Central Kentucky. I'm an hour north of Nashville, so I'm right on the Tennessee line. And small farming community right here in the middle of Kentucky.
I have a feeling, a lot of our community, of course, is national. Many of you may have never heard the name Adam Haley because he just kind of keeps to himself. But I guarantee if you're in Western Kentucky, you know who Adam is. So, hey, just to kick this off, just kind of casual, tell our listeners about what does family and life look like in Western Kentucky? Maybe not Monday through Thursday because we're all working and work's kind of the same everywhere. But what's Friday through Sunday look like in a great weekend that you have with your family?
Hey, a great weekend with my family. Down here, we live on a farm. So I live on a farm. It's got 200-acre farm that my wife's family owns. We've got a river out in front of the house. So our perfect weekend for us is just getting out on the farm, riding around on the Ranger, kayaking in the river. We love to cook. Myself, I love to cook. I've got a patio that overlooks the river. So, if I can be at home and be cooking, that's the perfect weekend for us. But hey, down here there's lots of lakes around, and it's a slow pace. It's different. It's just probably a lot different of an world than like a lot of the people you talk to are around.
It sounds amazing though. I'm like, we're in such a hustle culture. I'm in Vegas, of course, which is like, just go. So when we talk, even talking to you just with the draw and everything, right? It just slows the conversation down. I love it, man. It's peaceful. It's relaxing. And Adam and I, we share gratitudes quite often. So I've heard a lot of gratitudes about grilling and cooking out and down by the river. I've seen plenty of pictures where you're chilling out there. So that's cool, man. Well, hey, I want to kick this off with a part of your story that I know is going to really land, as I said a moment ago, with our community. And I'm going to call it the natural progression story, that kind of part of your journey. So again, everybody lean into this because you're going to really resonate with this. But Adam, just for context, kind of walk us through the ladder, if you will. Like you started as a solo agent. Let's start there and just kind of talk about how you progressed over those few years.
2013, I started as a solo agent. I was fresh out of not graduating from college, so I needed something to do. I needed a job, and my dad had always been in the auction business, and he was also a real estate agent at the time. He was like, "Hey, if you want to get your real estate license, I'll start a company and we'll start a small brokerage." That was 2013. I was 23 years old, and we started the brokerage. We had a couple agents, and I just started learning the business. And I really liked it. It's something that I really enjoyed spending time in. It gave me something to do. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a wife. So the first few years was just really learning the business. It was leaning on my dad, who had been in the business for the experience. It was leaning on past clients that we had from the auction business for a while. And, just kind of snowballed into a pretty good career as a solo agent. 2016, I think that was the year that I became the top sales agent in our county, which, keep in mind, there's 40 agents in our county at the time. So, it's not like there's 40,000 agents or anything. But that was a big goal of mine. That's, I was always looking, where am I going to go? What do I want to accomplish? And that was, what I had my sights set on. So, a few years in, that happened. And then I was always like, okay, how do I get better? How do I get better? Because I wanted to be a good agent for my clients and for my community and, for myself. I just wanted to have that success. Some point in 2018, Tom Ferry popped up on Facebook, an ad, and I was like, who's this Tom Ferry guy? But there was there was a conference in Baltimore. I think it was Blueprint, and so I went to that. I got my sister to go. She had joined the company, and another agent. We went to that, and there my eyes were just kind of open to this Tom Ferry ecosystem and this whole other world of successful agents. So I signed up for Tom Ferry coaching there, and then kind of like the progression from that point was like really crazy with my career as being a solo agent. And then, that kind of rolls into one thing, just I think in 2019, like I had 115 units sold.
As a solo agent.
As a solo agent. So you can imagine, how busy I was. 2018, I got married. 2019, 115 units. Went to Summit in 2019.
So your honeymoon was selling probably 20 homes in that 120.
Yeah. So, my honeymoon was everybody that is a busy agent knows the anxiety of leaving town. So, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, I'm in it. I'm experiencing what everybody else does. Just the craziness, the busyness. I still don't have kids, but now I have a wife. And she's definitely not getting the best of me, but she also understands what I'm working towards as well. So, but yeah, things just progressed. In 2019, I went to Summit, Tom Ferry Summit. I had a great coach, Craig DeBoer from Indy, or Craig DeBoer, sorry, Craig. And I got a videographer, got a transaction coordinator, started learning about how to build your business in the ecosystem. 2020, I had 132 personal units. 2021, it was 100-something units. So you can imagine where this is going. No time for anything. My head is spinning. I'm going through burnout every spring, every fall. There's no time for anything. And then, I have a son in 2021. I'm away at the hospital. My phone's ringing off the hook. Everybody needs something. And I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. Like, something has got to change. So kind of for me, what had been drilled in to my head from, just what I was seeing was start a team. Things will become easier. You can get out of production, and you'll buy time back. You'll add all these things. You'll buy time back. You'll have all these agents. They'll be doing it all for you. So in 2022, I got my broker's license. I became broker of our company. Things were good as far as business goes, as a company, we were doing over 400 units a year. Our best year, we were above $100 million in volume. So that was going good, but the whole time I was miserable. Burnout, I didn't have time for my family. I did not have time for my church. I didn't have time for my friends. I didn't get to do anything I wanted to do. And you know how it is, like, even if you're away or even if it's a weekend, you're not away. Like you're anxious, you're worried. So this is the progression. This was my progression. I thought it was going to be, I thought this was the smart move for me. I found out that it wasn't. And then in 2024, I just hit a point to where it's like, I've got to make a change. That's what I did.
So just to lean in a couple things that you alluded to. First of all, this has come up before on this podcast, but you alluded to some things where you were away with the family. Maybe you were home with the wife. At that point, maybe it was just Tripp right at that time, but you were in proximity, but that doesn't mean we're present, right? Are we running the type of business or the type of life that we can step away confidently and be present with who and what matters most? So that, that's interesting to kind of lean into. But I think that the main thing I want to really focus on from your story, Adam, is the natural next step was, hey, I'm crushing it solo agent. So of course I need to start a team. Oh, I'm a team leader. Of course, now I need to take over the brokerage. Like this is kind of the subscription, the playbook that subconsciously is given to us in our industry. I'm not saying it's bad. It is right sometimes for the right people. But tell me about your expectations versus what actually proved to be true. What led to that kind of climax moment, pivotal moment in fall of 2024? What was there something significant that happened? You're like, okay, that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. I'm out. I'm done.
I think my expectations were that this was going to get easier. And from being like in around coaching, I knew that different personalities, when you're going to hire somebody, you're looking for a certain personality type. And I guess I just thought that applied to everybody except for myself. So I'm a top producer. That doesn't make me a team leader. And I think that's what I realized the hard way was you see all these other people doing it and they're successful. And I think that they're happy doing it. So I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. And come to find out, it just wasn't. It just didn't make sense for me. And I think that if there's anybody else in this that is thinking about this move right now, I think you have to take a step back and say, is this going to make me happy? Is this truly what I want to do? Or is this what I think I need to do because I'm actually chasing something else? It took me a few years to really realize that I could try to add as much stuff as I wanted to for the agents or for the business. I could try to add in stuff to my schedule to keep me busy. I could try to have leadership meetings, but if your heart's not into it, it's not going to work out. So in 2024, I had my daughter, so I've got my son who I love dearly. I love spending time with him. I just had my daughter and I just was not happy. I had realized that this was not working, but for me, my ego we have a top team in our MLS. It's how can you walk away from this? But for the first time in a long time, I just made a decision for myself. And that was the Lord gave me wisdom to know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't need to kick the can anymore. So I was like, hey, I got to be done. I made the decision. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to quit being broker. I'm going to quit being team lead, and I'm going to figure out where I need to be at in production.
And I remember having some of these conversations with you. We were kind of talking through this together when we kind of kicked off our friendship. It was in the middle of all this type of stuff. And I remember you really wrestling with this. But man, I just want to honor you, Adam. And I admire you because you talked about ego, and you wrestled with it, but you still made, obviously hindsight, a very wise decision, a healthy decision. However, I think that this hustle culture, that tells us what we should want or what we're supposed to need, And for pride and ego, for me and for many, like to step out of that, it becomes our identity, really, right? So at some point, your identity could have so easily become, man, I'm selling 100 plus units a year, obviously making very good income. That's a pretty cool ego or a cool, pride or brand to have. So I honor you for really stepping back and saying, hey, is this what really brings me joy? And obviously it didn't. So you simplify, right? And simplify for you. I mean, just for context, guys, Adam's still going to sell 50 homes this year, probably for 20 million. So he's still a very productive agent and has some other things going on too. We'll talk about. But as you simplified, what did you find that you regained by doing that?
As I simplified,
So you step back on paper,
I
right?
take a step back, and I definitely take a step back because right now I feel like I have more time than I've ever had. And the reason I did that was to take my time back that I had lost. And the ego thing, my identity was in those numbers for several years. And I checked the MLS every couple of weeks to see where I was. And so for 3 years in a row, I was always number 2 in my MLS. And I was like, I just got to be number 1. I got to be number 1. And that's what I put my identity in is I was proud of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it depends on what season of life you're in as well. So for when I was single and nobody cared if I came home or not that night, that was fine. But I let that bleed over into my relationship with my wife. And that so she lost a couple of good years we lost good time together during a few years. And what I realized is I'm not going to let that continue on. So as I took a step back, I got friendships back because you're in proximity, but you're not present. I was in proximity on a lot of friends trips, vacations, like we all are. I mean, we're all guilty. We all go through this. We're all guilty of it. But for me, it was just knowing that it was time to make a change. I wanted to spend more time at church. I wanted to be able to enjoy church on Sunday and not have to rush out to go show a house or, do this or who's calling me about a deal's blowing up. So, being able to take a step back in production not only gives you more time, but, you don't have to worry about as much either, as many fires to fight. So that was just the decision I made. It's just like, I think this is the route I need to go. Lord, I hope you're giving me the wisdom to make this decision. And I believe that it has been the right decision.
That's awesome, man. And guys, what I want you to really hear is, first of all, Adam talked about seasons. And sometimes with the whole spirit of this podcast and community, we're talking about work-life harmony and having an aligned vision and mission for your faith, your marriage, your family, your community, all those things fleshed out through your business. And sometimes it might kind of almost come off as a little kumbaya, like touchy-feely. But don't miss here, like he put the work in, right? There was a season before marriage and maybe before kids where you were grinding it out. And that's totally appropriate. And what's even unique is right now what brings you joy isn't what brought you joy back then, but actually working 70 hours a week, selling 100 units before you're married, that does bring joy. That's
Oh, yeah,
fun
absolutely. It was filling me up. It's not going
until
to
it's
fill
at
me
the
up
expense.
anymore, but it's okay if it does fill you up if you're in that season of life.
100%, right? And then all of a sudden your priorities change and then maybe it doesn't in another season. That's okay. So don't ever hear us on this show say that it's all touchy-feely kumbaya. Like, yeah, there's seasons we got to put in the work, roll up the sleeves and build the business. But I think what I want everybody to take away is that as you build, as you're grinding, and it slowly starts to become your identity, just be very careful. Are you subscribing to somebody else's playbook that's been written for you? Or are we building the life by design the way that God has planned and purpose for you? What brings you joy? What are your unique gifts and talents and burdens that you want to lean into or pour time into? But so if we're not careful, we just naturally fall into the progression that is laid out before us, right? And this is your story. So thanks, man, for sharing that. So let's talk about now. We talk about you're more time at home. You got all this margin, and it's not just, hey, I'm going to spend all of it at home, right? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're a go-getter. So you started to reallocate that time into something else, and something that's really popular in the real estate space for sure right now is this idea of ancillary services, right? So how can we build a business and now start to leverage that business into additional income streams? Very popular would be title, right? Maybe I'm going to do a JV with title, or maybe I'm going to own a mortgage company or part of a mortgage company, insurance. There's so many different things, but you chose a different route. So let's talk about that. So you really went into the construction space. So what kind of led to that? And just tell me a little bit about that decision.
Yeah. So, I always worked with a lot of builders throughout my career, selling their spec houses. And I just got to thinking, it's like, I'm selling a lot of these houses. Why am I not, why am I not involved in this? Like, this is a really good opportunity for us to know, one, how the house is being built. And, we're already selling them, and there's a market here for that. Um, I had a friend he's my business partner now. We were friends then, we're really good friends now. And I just threw it out there. I said, man, I just bought a property and it has a few road frontage lots on it. Do you want to build the house? I'll sell the house and we'll split the profit. He said, sure, let's try it out. And, that was in 2020. In 2021, we started our company, which is H&S Homes, because we built 5 or 6 houses and it was going good and we were learning things and figuring things out. And so, that turned into us taking a big leap of faith and buying a chunk of land, being the developers, and we learned a lot there. And, building the houses. So now we build 30 houses a year, and we've done that for the last few years. We pride ourselves on having a quality construction in a world to where every day there's home inspector videos on Facebook that shows new construction falling apart. We're building homes that we want to live in. And we don't make as much money as the other construction companies, probably, I don't know, but we're putting a good product out that we believe in, that we can put our reputation behind. And it has blended so well in our real estate business because we build custom specs. So if you have a client that's looking for something and they can't find it, we have the lot. They pick the floor plan. They pick everything out. We build the home exactly how they want. They do a turnkey loan in the very end, and we just make it super simple. So we have all these agents in our market, in our office, that have these buyers and they don't have something, or they want to do construction. So it just made sense. And I think for a lot of real estate agents that have this opportunity, you should explore it. Not saying that you need to be the general contractor, because you don't. But you need to find a partner that does need to be the general contractor, and y'all work on it together, and you can make a really good business out of this.
I love what you said. We had talked briefly on the phone, and people get into title or mortgage, all these other things, but like construction, we're already showing these homes every day. We're selling these homes every day.
Yes.
Why not, instead of just being the order taker, why not be the one who's actually, making the hamburger, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
because you said you guys are buying the land, you are developing the land, you're doing the construction, you're selling them. I mean, you're literally beginning to end, right?
That's right. Yeah, and the reason we did that is because our margins are better because we're not buying lots. We're buying the land, we're developing the land, and we can have a crew that can do kind of all of that, and we can keep that crew busy as well. So it just made sense for us. Keep in mind, I'm in Southern Kentucky. It's probably not as easy to do in Las Vegas. So, it might be a harder startup for you than it was for me. But if there's opportunity there for you as a real estate agent, you're always looking for an investment, you're looking for a flip, you're looking for this or that, you're going to be selling these houses anyways. So sell a product that you believe in and that you can make a good margin on.
I love it. And you said, we had a conversation briefly the other day, and I love a comment you made, but it was something along the lines of your favorite client. You said you wanted to share with me who your favorite client is now. So tell me about that.
Okay, so I hope everybody can get to this position at some point to where your favorite client is yourself. My favorite client is myself. And that's not a knock on any of my other clients, but what I mean by that is I have been able, with the construction company, I have been able to replace units. I have been able to, if I want to do 60 units a year, if we're building 25 or 30 houses, naturally 25 or 30 of those units are now me as the client. What I mean by I'm my favorite client is I know how I'm going to react when a home inspection comes back. I know how I'm going to react if there's a low appraisal. And so you just don't have the, the daily transactional interactions that you have sometimes that can really affect your mood or give you anxiety and things like that. So not only with this kind of transition, I'm able to work for myself more. I'm able to still get a paycheck as being a real estate agent and as an investor, and that has worked out really well for me.
So are you a difficult client or are you a good client?
And I'm probably the easiest client in the world, and it's
Nice.
because I've dealt with difficult clients.
Yeah, we all have, but maybe one day I'll ask Shelby if you're a difficult client. She might have a different answer, I would assume.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no objection there probably. So, hey, let's talk about life by design. So you do this natural progression. You come up through the ranks. You finally hit this moment in the fall 24. Say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna simplify a little bit. Take a step back in the production side. Creates margin. Allows you to be more present at home. Friendships, church, all the things we talked about. Creates margin to get into this construction opportunity. So this cool story comes to this question is now you have this whole different experiences and knowledge and skills. So how have you leveraged that for designing the life that you want for you and your family? And specifically, I know just from gratitudes and conversations, I mean, you got some fun things you're working on that are serving your hobbies and your family. So let's talk about those real quick.
So I've been very blessed financially over the years from the results of just working so hard, like a lot of real estate agents. So what I tried to do, what I've always tried to do is invest that as responsibly as possible. The payoff from being kind of burnt out and miserable for 4 or 5 years was having a nice nest egg to be able to do some of these investments. And I would encourage everybody that if you're in the season of grind right now, to try to look long term, what's the goal? And hopefully the goal is to have earned enough income to make good investments to where you can buy back some of your time. Life by design for me right now is leaving the house at 8 o'clock, getting home at 4:30, and I'm able to do that because of some of the of being able of working hard 5 or 6 years ago. I don't have to work as hard today because I don't need the income. I just don't. Does that make sense? You just don't have to have as much. So you realize what's really important, and that's your family and your friends and your church and your pastors and being able to spend time with your parents and if you either if you can find a way to where you don't have to work so hard, or you just make the decision that you're not going to because you don't need as much, you can really live the life that you want to live. And I don't have it all figured out, but I will tell you that the last 12 months has been the happiest 12 months I've had in my career. And that is because, I made the decision to take a step back and really think about this life, this one life, as you say, the one life. And you're blurring the lines and all of this stuff. And, it would be a lot harder for me to blur the lines between business and family if I was still super busy. Or if I was still grinding. But when you can take a step back to say, okay, this is what I need to do work wise. I need to make sure that I put my family first now instead of putting them on the back burner. You really start to think about what is this life I want, and I'm working on that, and I hope that it continues to get better.
That's beautiful. And guys, I told you Adam's a humble guy. Some stuff that has been able to happen for him recently, which is really cool. And I lump this in with life by design because you are prioritizing your kids and your wife and community. But I know you're working on a lake house project. I'm constantly reading or hearing about or seeing pictures on Facebook, or you're out on the boat on the lake or in the river. Tell us about the duck story, right? What did you just build with
Okay.
some friends?
Yeah. So, yeah. So I was in Missouri the other day. Me and a couple of buddies, we bought a duck farm and built a lodge last year. And so I was on my way back, and it just kind of hit me. It's like, I'm getting ready for this podcast, thinking about trying not to mess it up. And
You're doing great, dude.
I remember from Blueprint in 2018, I was like, we made goals. Tom, close your eyes, write down what you see. We've all been through it. It's in the ecosystem. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure that I wrote on there in 5 years, I want to have a duck farm. It's like, I need to find those notes. So actually I found the notes, found them last night when I was digging through some stuff. And so, this was in 2018. And in 5 years, I wanted to own a hunting farm in Missouri. I wanted to have lots of family time. I wanted to vacation for 2 weeks. I wanted to have more time with friends. I wanted my marriage to be stronger and my relationship with God to be better. So that's what I wrote in 2018. So, and I never even revisited this after 2018. Subconsciously it's there, but, this year, I have a hunting farm in Missouri. Thank God, because I really enjoy that. We're going to vacation for 2 weeks in October. I get a lot more time with my friends. My relationship with my wife is a lot better than it's ever been. And spiritually, I'm just, there's a lot to work on, but thank God, I'm where I'm at right now with just being able to enjoy those, that. So, and then the lake house, we love the lake. We get to go down there a lot. We just got done building the lake house this year. We had a smaller one, and a buyer came along, got to flip that, roll the money. I had another investment that I rolled some money from. So, this season of life for me has been just a culmination of things rolling that me and Shelby talked about. It was always like, it's going to roll. We're going to roll from this property to the next. We're doing this. It's all going to work out at some point. Just trust me. And somehow we made it through that. And praise God, we're enjoying some of that right now.
You know what? I'm a firm believer in a lot of things when it comes to God, but I believe God honors hard work. I also believe, well, we know the Bible says if you're faithful with little, you could be entrusted with more. And that doesn't always mean more money or more, opportunities, but it can. But what I'm hearing you say without saying it, and one thing that we probably should lean into more on this show in episodes to come is stewardship. You've invested well, but I think what you've done, Adam, I'm going to make an assumption here. You've probably lived below your means for quite a while. Uh, and when you do that, what happens with a lot of young, hungry realtors, entrepreneurs is you start doing really well. That's awesome. But most of us will increase our lifestyle dollar for dollar as we increase our earnings. But guys, if you always do that, you never are able to actually be content long enough to enjoy your life, to slow down, to be present. And if you're increasing your lifestyle dollar for dollar, you're not investing that money, which now you're enjoying the fruits of wise stewardship. And I think God's honored that too, man. You're experiencing the favor and blessing from that.
I can say I could have been more content because that's something I struggle with. And I think as you're grinding through your career, it's hard to be content. And that leads to other areas of life too. But I do think that if you're listening to this and you are in real estate, we as realtors have a really good opportunity to make good investments as we see them come up. And I would encourage you, what I've always tried to do, and it hasn't always worked out like this, but what I've always tried to do is roll your money into the next one and never take it out. Because at some point, you're going to have a pretty good thing sitting there, whatever it is. And that's what I have tried to do, and it has worked out well. So take advantage of the career that you're in to be able to realize what a good investment is and try to roll that into something else. And then if you get to roll it into things you enjoy, like a vacation home that also makes you money, then it's kind of like it's a win-win for sure. So yeah, just that's what I've tried to do. So we'll
It's
see how it
inspiring.
goes on.
It's super inspiring, Adam. So I want to pivot to faith. I know, just getting to know you, that faith is your foundation. I understand that's the foundation of your business, of your marriage, your family. But how has faith played a role in this specific journey? And even just kind of lean into that more. What has God taught you about Himself, and how has your walk with Him grown through this journey over these last few years?
I think that your faith, your faith will guide your business. It gives you a foundation to conduct your business and how you are with people. But when you're not so strong in your faith, having some type of faith gives you something to fall back on in the hard times. And I think that for so long, I don't think for so long, I know for so long, that it was all about me and the grind and how many units I could sell. And then when I hit rock bottom, I'd fall back on my faith for about 3 weeks. And then it was time to grind again. So, and I think that a lot of us can be guilty of that, but me especially on that. So in, the last few years, I've really been growing a lot more in my faith with my church, and I have awesome pastors that I just love so much, and I've been learning so much, and I've just realized that, you know, I need a firmer foundation than what I've got. Like, I'm putting my trust in my work and the people that I'm trying to serve. I'm putting them ahead of everything else. Jesus is not at the top of my list. My family is not at the top of my list. And I just realized, like, a few years ago, it's like, this has got to change. So really started working on that. And, about 2 years ago, I got it more involved in church. And I realized that this is what fills me up. Being at church on Sunday fills my cup now a lot more than signing a listing contract. And going to Awana on Wednesday nights with my son and seeing all the kids there, that's where I need to be. That's where I want to spend my time. So, about a year and a half ago, I was asked to be a deacon at my church. I didn't think I deserved it. Wasn't expecting it. Didn't think I was worthy of it. Talked to my pastors and told them that, and they were like, "Man, it's not about what you can do for God, it's what God has already done for you." So that, hearing that over and over kind of really just changed my perspective on my faith. And so now, my faith really helped me to make that decision a year ago, because God tells us not to be anxious and not to worry. And, that's really easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to put that into practice. And for a long time, I didn't put that into practice. And then last fall, I was like, you know what? What is there to worry about? God tells us we don't have to worry. We don't have to be anxious. I'm over here killing myself in just fear of letting somebody down by this decision I'm making. And I asked my wife multiple times, I was like, what if I just quit? What if I just didn't do this? And she was like, do what you want to do. I'm like, it's fine. You got to do what's going to make you happy. So, having faith that God was going to take care of us regardless really helped me make that decision. And after I made the decision to really take a step back from work, I feel like my walk and my faith has just grown so much, and there's so much to work on. Like, I'm so far from being like a perfect, good, Christian.
Oh, you're human? Are you
No,
saying you're human?
I'm very human, but it fills me up. My faith, dude. Like I said earlier, the last 12 months, it's been the happiest I've ever been, and that is because of my faith, and just knowing that there's so much grace there for me, and for you and for everybody else. Like, hey, and there's nothing we can do enough for God because He has already done it for us. And so just accepting that and say, hey, we're not perfect people, but we always have the faith to lean on every single day in every decision we make. So, yeah, that might have been long-winded, but that's just kind of how I feel.
No, man, it's everything I want our community to hear. And so many of us get wrapped up in the identity and the performance and the comparison and the ego and all those things. But what I love and admire about you, Adam, is you didn't ignore that tug on your heart, that was tugging you, or you stepped into it, you dealt with it, and trusted God. And what has He done since? He's continued to provide. Now you got construction going, other investments going. You're still selling a ton of real estate, just not at a level that's stressing you out. Working with people you want to work with, we talked about, like that brings joy. And you're just seeing the faithfulness of God in your life, man. It's really, really fun to hear. What
Well, and I hope that I have enough faith at some point in the future to be able to take even more steps back so that I can serve God a lot better than I do right now. So it's a journey, but I'm looking forward to continuing to grow in my faith.
I love it, man. Well, the journey never stops for us. And I got a couple final questions for you, and we're going to wrap up, Adam. So, this journey you've been on that you just shared with everybody, which I'm grateful for, what guardrails have you put in place to keep you from slipping back into the industry's playbook, the industry's scorecard that we all subconsciously subscribe to? Any guardrails or boundaries you've put in place to say, hey, I'm not going to slip back into that again?
So that's a good question because I think the answer for me right now is God is the guardrail, because I know where I want to be at. I know who I need to be with, where my time needs to be, what I need to be doing for my family and for my church and for my friends. Now, I will say, so right now, like I don't feel like I need a guardrail because it's like that's not where I want to be. Now, saying that, we talk about these seasons. And so 10 years from now, is it crazy to think that, oh, Adam's back grinding again, his kids are in high school and doing that? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. But for right now, there's just really no part of me that would sacrifice or change anything on where I'm at. But a few practical guardrails would be, I don't schedule appointments in the morning. The reason I don't is because I don't want my thoughts to be racing in the mornings when I'm here with my family and my kids, and having to get out of the house so fast and just be super stressed. I don't work on Saturdays or Sundays unless it's just for a really good client. I don't work on Sundays really at all unless it just has to be. So those are a few like practical guardrails of guarding your time. But I just think overall, I'm just so happy with where I'm at right now that there's not really a need for a guardrail.
That's inspiring, man. We all aspire to that, dude. That's awesome. So here's a question for you that I wonder how you're going to react to this. Have you stopped to think about what your now 4-year-old son and your now 18-month-old daughter, what will they remember as they get older because of the decisions you've made over these last 12 months? Have you ever stopped to think about how they're going to look at that?
I do. I think about that a lot, and that kind of shapes the decisions I make. Um, because I want them to just know that they had quality time with me. Um, Not that they're going to remember the things that we do right now, but it's going to mold how they grow up. And I just hope they know that they're the most important things in my life, and that I was there to spend quality time with them. That's all I really want to do. I just want to have quality time to where I'm present and I'm not in proximity. Yeah, so
I
that's
love it, man.
where I'm at.
I was leading a Rooted meetup. It's a faith-based group. You know about it, Adam, that we do. and I was challenging the room about, subscribing to the industry scoreboard. And I had a friend say this recently, but you know how many realtors got into the business because they just wanted to pick their daughter up at school,
Hmm.
or they just wanted to pick their son up at school, and then we start crushing it like you did. Next thing you know, you're selling X number of units, fill in the blank or your context or the part of the country you're in, and you're crushing it. But how many people like, oh my gosh, you know what I haven't done in the last 3 years? Picked up my daughter at school. I know your kids are going to look back and say, wow, thank God I have my dad. I'd rather that than him sell another 20 homes.
And hey, it's easier said than done, because when I was in my period of very busyness and burnout, people can say, "Oh, just buy your time back with this or buy your time back with that." Well, it's not that easy. So, you know, for that agent that is super busy that wants to just have that time with your kid or pick them up from school, it's like you're just going to have to make the decision to do it and to not worry about what everybody else thinks, because you have one life, and these moments are precious, and I would just encourage you to really think about that.
Yeah. And I do want to just give some grace to the listeners too. Like, as Adam's already said multiple times, there's seasons where you don't pick your kid up at school because you got to grind it out. You got to put food on the table and provide. That's loving and honoring your family as well.
Yes.
So don't ever hear us say on this podcast or community that's not, expected. And also let yourself out there. It's probably not healthy that you're at every single ball game they ever play, because then now they're looking for is your approval. Like, I mean, there's some. So I think this is the whole idea of harmony between the work and life, right? Um,
That's right.
so we're going to bring this home, Adam. Before I do, I just want to give all of you listening a challenge. As you just kind of reflect on what Adam has shared, I know that you can absolutely resonate and relate to everything that Adam's been sharing. But I challenge each of you to reflect on the path you're currently on, and then ask yourself, is it serving your life, the life that you really want to build, or did you subscribe to someone else's playbook for your life? I would just challenge you to really reflect. Am I really designing the life I want to build, or am I just following the playbook that was subscribed to me, probably subconsciously, because it doesn't have to be that way? I just want to challenge each of you with that thought. And as we wrap this up, Adam, I want to just ask you to kind of leave a final thought and encouragement with our listeners, if you could. So, specifically to this idea, to the entrepreneur or realtor who just realized that they have bought in to this natural next step they're supposed to take, right? This, as we keep saying, the industry scoreboard, but they feel stuck or having this realization that's where they're at. How would you wrap up the show for us to encourage that community?
Yep, that's a great question. And I think that I would say, from my experience going through different seasons through up and down the ladder of real estate career, and this is such a simplistic thing. You got to know what fills your cup and makes you happy, and you can't be afraid to change when you go down a path that you decide that you no longer want to be on. There's no shame in pivoting. And for me, it was like it was a tough decision for sure, because it took me a year to really finalize it. But when I did, the weight that was lifted off my shoulders was man, it was enormous. So take the path that you want to take, because there's plenty of room in this industry for solo agents, for team leaders, for whoever, to make a good career and be able to have that time that you want with your friends and family and whoever else. So just be true to yourself, and really lean in on your faith, and let that guide you to make the decisions that you need to when you need to make them.
Perfect. And I have nothing to add to that because that was so perfectly said. I agree with everything you just said, Adam. Thank you for sharing that. So, man, just want to say a huge thank you to you for carving out some time. I know you are busy between selling and building and family and all the stuff, but grateful, man.
Matt, thank you, buddy. This is, everybody tells you this, but you probably don't hear it like I hear it. You're doing such a powerful thing, and it takes away from your business and it takes away from your income, but it touches you helped me out through a hard time, and I appreciate that. But you're helping out so many people, and dude, God bless you, man.
Thanks, Adam. That's encouraging and means a lot, bro. So, hey, we're going to put Adam's information, of course, in the show notes and on the website for the podcast. But other than that, Adam, is there just the best way? What would you say is the best way for people to connect with you if they want to reach out?
Just, hey, hit me on my cell phone or look me up on Facebook. I don't know what my handles are, but we'll put them out there somewhere. Hey,
Yeah, as I figured, you probably don't know your Instagram handle memorized.
I'd be glad to talk to anybody anytime, but you know, if there's anything I can do to help, I'd sure would love to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, we'll put, of course, your info in the show notes, everybody. So again, you find that at theonelifepodcast.com. Don't forget theonelifepodcast.com. Of course, that's where you can choose, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all the different platforms to listen. So again, we are grateful for you listening today. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, share, rate the podcast, engage with us. We want to hear from you. And send this to a few people who you think could benefit from this. I know that this story of Adam's will resonate and land with many, many people in your circles and could really, really encourage them. So take the time and share it with them if you could. So again, thank you for being part of this One Life community. We're going to wrap there. Adam, thanks again, bro. We'll talk to you soon. I hope this episode encouraged you today. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, and rating the podcast. It truly means the world to me. And be sure to visit theonelifepodcast.com to join our community. That's where you'll find updates on virtual meetups, special events, and more. And remember, God created you on purpose for a purpose. You don't have to choose between a life of significance and a thriving business. You were made for both. This is One Life.